Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. There's a crisis in the repo market. REPO stands for repurchase operations. Banks have a certain reserve requirement. It's been this way since the Depression. They want to make sure banks stay solvent, and it's increased. The requirements increased after 2008. So at the end of every day, every business day, if banks don't have enough, they do is they sell treasuries to other banks that have excess in reserve, and so they can meet their reserve requirements. Then this is a common practice, and it's banks do with each other. But the treasuries are made up of bundled securities. They can be mortgages, they can be bank CDs, they can be commercial loans, they can be other repurchase agreements from operations with other banks. There are some banks that primarily do buy these treasuries. Big banks, Chase, Citibank, Barclays are a couple that are pretty common, people know about. They stopped doing this 4 months ago because they weren't comfortable with the toxic assets that were in these bundled securities, in these treasuries. I found this and it just fit with what I'm going to talk about today. It says, so what can I do to put you into this cream puff? The Chase Manhattan I'm familiar with. I was a mortgage broker in California for about 6 years. I've been in the industry for over 11, and I was very familiar with Chase. Chase is very conservative. When everybody was going hog wild and going 100% financing, stated income, stated assets, no income verification, they stuck to the conforming guidelines. 80% loan to value, 660 FICO score, 45% debt to income ratio, 3 months expenses in reserve, and 2 years employment history with no gaps. They never changed, right? Well, they've sticking to their conservative principles in this operations, and they decided that they were going to pull out. They're losing a lot of money. They were charging like 1.75% interest a day, and now it's up to like 2.5%. So over 30 days, over a month, that's a lot. It's just a lot of income that they're losing, but they just weren't comfortable with what's the underlying assets that are in these treasuries. The Fed jumped in. They went from 2008. They put in $1.4 trillion in 2008 to shore up the mortgage industry. There was no activity, hardly at all, until about 4 months ago, and they've exceeded the amount of money they've inserted into the market since 2008, and you're hearing nothing about it, unless you're like me, and that's my interest. So YouTube feeds me videos that are of interest to me, and I educate myself. I was like, what is going on? I thought it was residual toxic mortgage assets from 2008. Well, I found out there's still some of those toxic assets in the system, but only 431 billion, which is really a drop in the bucket compared to what it was. The real problem is the banks like Deutsche Bank, and there's a big bank in China, I can't pronounce the name, that are the main lenders for subprime auto loans. But 4 months ago, timing's kind of interesting, China announced that it is no longer buying automobiles that run on gasoline. They're going straight to electric. That's affecting Germany, which is affecting Deutsche Bank, and Japan. The United States automakers are announced that they're going to make electric cars starting next year. Just yesterday, a Vietnamese billionaire is putting all his money into marketing Vietnamese-built electric cars in the United States. So this is a picture of the Tesla truck. This is not going to be good for the oil industry or for Texas. We are so dependent on oil. It's not going to end everything. We still need to burn fossil fuels, mostly coal and natural gas, to generate the electricity to run these electric cars. But price of gas is going to go down at the pumps, The big benefactor is going to be auto mechanics, keeping these cars running as long as they can. My son and I were talking about this yesterday. He goes, people are going to find these hot rods and they're going to retrofit them for electric. They actually have more torque, they're faster than internal combustion engines. So I'm like, oh, that's what a concept that would be. Our big problem, though, is we are in a Keynesian economic system, and it's been that way since Richard Nixon was president. We went off the gold standard, and it's based on the ability of the American to pay their bills and produce income. I found this on the internet. It says, now it's time to stimulate the economy with government spending. But basically, that's what's going on. We're not encouraged to save. If you got money, they want you to spend it. The flow of money is what they're basing our productivity off of and our value of our dollar. And when people can't pay their bills, then the value of the dollar goes down. These are countries in the world that they're not in any order. China, this is from December 2016, their per average savings is 36%. Japan is 29%, and that's recent. That's from October. Mexico's at 21%. The Netherlands are at 25%. The economy in the Netherlands, their GDP is not based on windmills or wooden shoes or tulips. It's investments. They save money, they get insurance, and they pass money down to actually, there's a big company called Aegon out of the Netherlands that actually financed the Industrial Revolution in the United States by funding U.S. steel. The United States, we're not the worst. We're at 6.8%. In 2007, we were at a minus 2% in savings in the United States on average. We need to get a budget, get a proper foundation, increase our cash flow, ensure proper protection, eliminate our debt, have an emergency fund, and invest for our retirement. Help has arrived. I've been doing this for a long time. When I was a mortgage broker, I used to take people that had bad credit, they were negative in their cash flow, and I would sit down with them and go through line by line and help them stop the bleeding, start saving money, start funding an emergency fund, and get their credit up. My son, who wants to buy his Tesla, had a low credit score. I pulled his experience. He had a debt on there that was not his. I advised him to dispute it, and in less than 24 hours, his score popped 50%, and now he's going to get his own Tesla. So that is what's happening, and I hope you enjoyed it.
I just want to make sure. We're all sitting here like.
I'm also trying to give you hair in.
I know.
Well, try to do this. All righty, thank you, Ruben. That was very interesting. I need to save more money. It's been working again. At this time,